You're tuned in to The Thinking Class with Lawrence D. Adams. Let's go.
Are you tired of living on autopilot, feeling like something is missing? It's time to embrace your inner royalty with The Secret Invisible Crown. This book holds timeless truths that can change your life forever. Discover the power of mindset and how it shapes not only how you see yourself, but also how others see you. Be part of the 5% who choose to make a change. Get your crown now and reign with confidence.
Salute everybody. This is Lawrence D. Adams. This is when spirituality and the game combined. You have The Thinking Class. What's going on? How are you? Wrong. I hit the wrong one. Let's get it going. We're going to talk about today. I hope you're listening out there in the clouds, those in the listening at work. This is Lawrence D. Adams. When spirituality and the game combines, we are The Thinking Class. And how appropriate to be called the thinking class in the current environment that we are in. Tone, friends, good to see you. Good to see you. Happy Friday to you. How appropriate that we are called the thinking class in the current climate that we are in politically, socially, and globally. There is a difference from those who do not think and those who do think. So we are the thinking class. Today, we're going to be talking about it's time for you to stand on business. It's time for you to stand on business. And it looks like, this has to be talked about. But let me say this. If you haven't, we are going to be setting up the Patreon where I'll be doing some other videos on other topics. And you're going to really enjoy it. Books. Working behind the scenes with John O. We got books in the queue ready to roll out. It's time. You're going to see this Patreon get really good. But today we're talking about it's time for you to stand on business. I have to say this because of a lot of stuff that's going on in the news, a lot of stuff that's going on politically, A lot of things that are going on socially, a lot of things are going on even on the dynamics between men and women. I realized that is so important that because this is a men's channel, I have to save this because I think a lot of men need to hear this game or what I'm about to share. And it's so important that men first learn to stand on business. Now it is a term that's actually from the streets. I think who made it pretty much relevant inside of the social media happened to be T.I. son King when he's talking about he's standing on business. To me, it was cute. It was dandy. I see what he did, but reality, how much business can he stand on? He's under his father and mother's house. But I think it's important that men, individuals, begin to stand on business. And the first thing I need to address is this. You cannot stand on business if you are moved or triggered by things around you. You cannot stand on complete business if you are moved or triggered by things around you. Most people fail to stand on business or 10 toes down or stand on who they are because they are triggered by what they see, what they hear around them. To go a little bit further, many times people are triggered what? Emotionally by what they see and what they hear. And so it blinds them from standing on business, but it also blinds them from making a logical decision on what they should do and how they should respond. So the first thing is, how can you stand on business if you are triggered by what you hear and by what you see, and it blinds you from making the proper decision on how you need to move? It completely throws you off track. You got to take a whole day to get yourself together. You got to do a whole woosah because you are triggered by what's in the news, what's in the media, what's on social media. You're triggered by what someone said, whether they like you or don't like you. You cannot stand on business if you are triggered by every little thing that comes at you. Plain and simple. And I got especially talking to the men. If you are triggered by anything, it is a sure sign that I got you. And I'm going to rent space in your head. Let me say that again. If you are triggered by anything, anyone, any situation, and it causes you to flip the script and you get emotionally charged, guess what happens? I'm living rent-free inside of your head. And what we have going on these days, we have a lot of people who are triggered and allowing others to live rent-free in their head, live rent-free in their minds, live rent-free in their emotions, and therefore they can never stand on true business because now you make a decision based off what triggers you. The best thing you can do is learn about standing on business. And something was an old commercial back in the day is you never let them see you sweat. You never let them see that you are bothered by their opinions, by their thoughts, or even by their feelings. You cannot stand on business as a man or as an individual if you are tossed to and fro and you are driven by your emotions. Am I saying emotions are bad? No, because we all get emotions. We all got things that anger us. We all got things that upset us. But if you're going to stand on business, you have to be almost unmovable. You have to be almost where nothing moves you. You are unbothered. The person, and I've said this to my sons, the person who triggers you or who makes you angry inadvertently controls you. Let me let that sit and breathe. The person who angers you, who triggers you inadvertently and directly controls you. They can do that at any time. Let me bring some context to that. I seen something in the news, seen something recently in social media with a particular interview, 3 interviewees and a particular candidate. People were triggered by the conversation. And what happened is it threw them off of their business. They were emotionally charged and they were not thinking on how to respond, but they were reacting from what they were triggered from. And when you are reacting from what you are triggered from, it is a sure sign that if I was on the other side, I will constantly press your buttons to get you out of standing on your business. And I'm here to tell you, there are a lot of people. You can grab their goat easily by saying something that is the opposite of what they agree. But the most dangerous person is when you don't know where they stand and they stand on business, or you know where they stand and they are unbothered by your opinions or your thoughts or your suggestions. That is truly standing on your business. But let me emphasize this. If you are getting triggered by what you see in social media, if you're getting triggered by what you're seeing on news, if you're getting triggered by what the women are saying online, if you're getting triggered by what this individual, this man said online, guess what? They already signed the lease and they are renting space, not in your mind, but in your emotions. And I think just in your mind is one thing, but when they take residence in your emotions, anytime they tap dance, anytime they say something, your arm jumps up. Anytime they do something, your other arm triggers. Anytime they may look your certain way, guess what? You immediately triggered. And you can see in the current climate of social media and news and politics, who's really triggered around here. Because they always have a reaction and not a response. Talking about standing on business. They always have a reaction. They have a reaction to it instead of a response. And what I'm seeing, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper with this, what I'm seeing, why it's so important to stand on business, is that a lot of people are not emotionally mature. And this might have to go on. I should have did this one on Patreon. A lot of people are not emotionally mature. They still are in the 3rd grade when it comes to their emotions. Let me say that again. A lot of people are in the 3rd grade when it comes to their emotions. You know, when you were in the 3rd grade, I remember my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Collins, and we would go out for recess and we would play games. We would play kickball, we would play tag, and we would play other games. But if somebody got into a fight, you're going to fight. You're going to be triggered. You're going to hit the other person. They're going to get into it. And then next you know, recess is over and you're back in class and you're still upset. So many people their emotions are still lost at recess, that they have not emotionally matured in their emotionally matured in their thinking, but emotionally matured in how they handle life. They are still sitting in the place of being in the third grade and never went and graduated out of the 12th grade because they are emotionally unstable, but they're emotionally immature. When I was younger, even to this day, I had people talk about me. They talked about my lips. They talked about my ears. They talked about how I look. They talked about my clothes. They said, well, you got hand-me-down clothes. You look at you and your brother. Look where y'all live at. Look, I've been talked about. I've been teased. You're so skinny. Why don't you gain weight? I got it all. But when you realize, when you stand on business, I had to learn how to, in that moments of being talked about, ignore and give it back to him. Well, look at you. But a lot of people have not graduated out of the third grade when it comes to emotions. You can see it bleeding over in social media. You can see it bleeding over into their lives and to their personal lives and to their relationships because someone else doesn't agree with them. And so now they are taking offense when something shouldn't have been offensive. It should have been like, you know what? That's how you think. I respect that. Let me move on. So we're talking about the importance of standing on business. The importance of standing on business is realize that a lot of people are not emotionally where you think they are. And let me be very clear. And I ain't even talking about some of these men on these YouTube streets, on these Instagram streets, and on these TikTok streets and everywhere else. They are emotionally, I shouldn't be saying this, but I guess I'm about to say it. They are emotionally, how can I say this? Some men have the emotional blueprint of their mother and not the emotional blueprint from their father. So when things don't go their way, they fly off the handle. They get up to they have emotional blueprint not from their father, but emotional blueprint from their mother. There's nothing wrong with your mother's blueprint, but it's completely different than your father's emotional blueprint. And so what happened is when the advent of taking the father out of the house, where does he learn to process his emotions correctly? We're talking about standing on business. So he gravitates to what is near and dear to him, which is his mother and how she processes her emotions. While a man processes their emotion completely different and moves a different way. That's what is interesting to watch some of the things online and social media and news and politics and things like that. And when it comes down to this man space, how I watch how some of these men are just as catty and just as petty as a woman. How can a woman even be the woman when you're trying to be her emotionally? We have a lot of growing up to do, especially as men. But I want to make sure I hone in about standing on business. The one thing you have to really hone in is getting a hold of your emotions. Getting a grip of your emotions. You shouldn't be, if you are that angry, if you're that upset and everything ticks you off, you need to go get therapy. You need to go get help. You need to go talk to somebody. Because if that was the case, there would be a war, a fight, things going on in the street all the time because people are constantly flying off the handle. What keeps the order in this world, or even in a community, in the family, is the balance of the man and the woman and not being driven by your emotions. but being driven by what is the logical thing to do. This is standing on business. But you can see that I want to go back to this point of standing on business. I don't care what you say about me. I know who I am. You can talk about the color of my skin. I don't care. You can talk about that you don't like a certain color of a person. I don't care. When you know, you can only stand on true business when you know who you are. Let me say that again. You can only stand on true business when you know who you are. And the problem is, a lot of people don't know who they are. So they're standing on shaky ground and they're not standing on a firm foundation because they do not know who they are. How can you stand on business, on your business, if you don't know who you are? That's why you can be unbothered if somebody doesn't like the color of your skin. If they don't like my gray beard, if they don't like my eyes, if they don't like where I live at, I do not give a care. And that's not what I wanted to say. I do not give a flying flip. I don't care if they're racist or not. I've dealt with that. I still stood on business. Until you understand what standing on business is and you knowing who you are, you become really unbothered by certain people in certain situations. Until you understand, pull back the covers even into my life. I'm being chased home because of the color of my skin. I'm really unbothered by someone who's racist, who don't like me. Many times I'm more concerned about the people who have the same color of my skin being more of an issue than those who do not. What is it saying? All skin folks and kin folks. But standing on business first has a foundation that you are not triggered by things around you. And the only way you cannot be triggered by things around you is when you understand who you are. This is who I am. This is who I'm evolving to be. This is who I am improving. I'm building on this foundation. And you cannot be emotionally driven when someone says something that you don't agree with. I'm heating up, but hey, it is what it is. When you are not driven by this is the thing. That's why I don't get moved. Let me say this, because I know I got to throw some game in there. That's why I'm not moved by what I see some of the women say online. I know completely different. Turn the camera off, turn the lights off. It's a completely different story. I don't buy into what they're saying. I'm not buying the wolf tickets that they're saying online. It sounds good and dandy. And the same thing I do with some of these guys. I don't buy some of the stuff they say because they don't live this life outside of this. Until you stand on business, no, I don't buy it. To me, it's all fluff. It's all for show. They don't have that same energy when you meet them in public or when you meet them somewhere else. It's all for lights and cameras. That's why I don't buy into what they say online. Oh, I only deal with a guy like this. I only deal whatever. Truth be told, if this button is pushed and that's pushed, you're going to do something different. So standing on business, one of the foundational things is knowing who you are. The other thing about standing on business is you have to respect when someone else is standing on business. Don't talk about you standing on business and you have no regards and no respect for someone else standing on their business or standing on what they believe and their principles, and you do not honor that. How dare you, dog, mistreat, talk about somebody who said they this is what they believe and this is what they stand for. Many times we try to do that because we want to convince them to come on our side because we got triggered because they didn't agree with us. They got what? You got triggered because they didn't agree with you. And so what you did was, you know what? I'm not going to respect I'm not going to respect them standing on their business. I don't even care because I'm mad that they didn't do what I said they should do. You find out real quick that life doesn't work like that. How it works is when you respect yourself, you have the ability now to respect someone else. Just because somebody else is standing on business doesn't mean I have to agree with them or their lifestyle or what they do. But what I have to do to secure that I'm secure and standing on my business. Like I said, so many people are triggered. It is amazing watching the people that are triggered mentally, spiritually by what they see around them. It's an old song I used to sing back when I was younger. I shall not be moved. I'm like a tree planted by the rivers of water. I shall not be moved. Just now, let me say this too. Just because you're standing on business doesn't mean that you have no regards for anyone else, or that you cannot point out the wrong in your life and you see something that needs adjusting in somebody else's life. By standing on business means you're standing on your principles, you're standing on your beliefs, you're standing on your convictions, and you're standing on what you believe is right for you. You're standing on your foundation. And most people are afraid to do that because they're looking for likes, they're looking for people to agree with them, and they're looking to appeal to the masses. Let me say that again. They're looking to what? Appeal to the masses and not realizing that they're looking for external validation instead of validating themselves. So they do not stand on business. You can see it now what's going on. It is amazing when you have group thinking and when someone decides to think outside of the group, how people go attack them to get back in line. Let me say that again. It is amazing to watch as people want you to conform to their way of thinking, to their way of doing things, and be a part of the masses and never take the time to think for yourself. What's dangerous in these times that we're in is when people have mass consciousness and do not think for themselves. When they do not think for themselves, they do not reason for themselves, they rely on others to do that. That is the most laziest thing that you can do. When you just say, I'll forget it. Whatever you say, I'm going to do it. It's like going on a date or whatever you want to eat, I want to eat. Don't you want something? I don't want a steak. I want a burger. I don't want fries. I want chicken. And what happens is when mass conscious thinking, it robs you of your individuality and your ability to help the masses move correctly. With mass consciousness thinking. And it's amazing how people will attack you because you don't think like them. You don't reason like them. You're not conforming like them. You don't see the world like them. Because it is comfortable. They feel more comfortable if you conform to be like them and not be yourself. You cannot stand on business if you're not being who you are. That's the dangers of mass conscious thinking. The dangers is you become mentally lazy, emotionally lazy, and spiritually lazy when you have the mass consciousness thinking, because you do not take the time to reason and to think about, does this fit to what I value and what I stand for? This goes politically, this goes socially, this goes in relationships. Does this fit into where I am at, what I value? And you can't stand on business if you don't know who you are. And you can't stand on business if you don't know your values, if you don't know your principles, if you don't know what you go for and what you do not go for, and you don't have boundaries. So the easier route that a lot of people do is they get into the boat and just go with the flow. Because why stir up the pot? Why would I think that? And not realizing that they are just getting along just to get along. You cannot stand on business if you're going to agree with everything that's said. Even what I say on here, I don't expect you to agree and like everything I say. But to stand on business, you got to be able to say, I got to get out of this mass consciousness of thinking and think for myself. That is the reason why we call this the thinking class, which is an anomaly inside of a space for men, or a space online, or a space on YouTube or anywhere else, because most people don't want to think. They want to be lazy. Just give me the answer and I can run. Because it takes work to think. Back to the point. You stand on business. I heard something today in the interview. You got to be, when you stand on business, you got to be aggressive with it. You got to be aggressive, which is a word we don't want to use in this day and time, but it's so true. And your aggressiveness is mainly internally on how you move and how you operate. To stand on business, you got to be aggressive about your goals. You got to be aggressive and being the best version of you. When I go to the gym, I got to be aggressive on I want to get my work on my mile and breaking down, so I'm running the mile under 10 minutes. You got to be aggressive about that. You can't be sitting around, I'm just patty cake bakers, man. No, you got to be aggressive about it. To stand on business, especially in this day and age, you got to be aggressive about it. You got to be like a bulldog. You got to be like a pit bull. You got to lock in. When you are aggressive about standing on your business and you're respecting other people who are standing on their business, it causes a gravity begin to pull towards you. People begin to pull away from you, and actually people begin to pull towards you because of your pull that you have. The gravitational, I'm not thinking of the right word, but the gravity pull towards you, you become polarizing in who you are, which is not wrong with being polarizing, but it becomes, now you begin to pull things towards you because you're standing on business. Most people don't want that because they want to get along. They want to just be with everybody else and do what everyone else is doing. But once you begin to internally, let me say this, I got to emphasize this. When you begin to internally stand on business, it's not something you do outwardly. First, you do it first inwardly. It is a knowing that you are standing on what is right in your convictions. I remember years ago, I think about 9 years ago, 10 years ago, I was talking to Jono. I was walking down the street about 4 in the morning. We were contemplating some things. I was in a rough patch in my life. Things where I didn't have a job. I needed to find a job. I needed to eat, all kind of things. He said something to me that was life-changing, and I still remember to this day. He said, you got to stand on your truths. Not anyone else's truths. You got to stand on your own truths, which you hold dearly, which you abide by, which you go for. You have to stand on your own truths in life. And I thought about that. I was like, but Jono, I'm in this place, man. I got to get money. I got to get a job. I got to do this. I said, bro, you got to stand on your truths. You got to stand on what you believe is right. You didn't stood on everyone else's truth and or everyone else's business. You didn't take in everyone else's philosophies. What is your philosophies? What are your truths? What are your convictions? What are your yeses? What are your no's? Are you standing on your business? That night or that going into the morning, that's not what I wanted to hear. That's not what I felt I needed. But I had to make a decision that night. And will I stand on business? Will I stand on my truths? Even in the face of complete failure in my life, even in the face of complete disappointment in my life, letting people down, losing things, will I embrace my truth? Will I stand on my business? Will I abide by my laws that I feel are dear to me? I had to make a decision that night. And you are going to have to face that decision, or you're going to decide not to do it. And you're going to follow after someone else who will lead you by the ring in your nose around every which way and not the way that's best for you. And you will die a slow death of the soul because you refuse to stand up on your business. There's so many people who have sold their souls and who are a carcass or a shell of who they are because they refuse to stand on business and stand up for what they believe was right for them. And so they are a carcass of who they are because they sold their souls to be famous, to be wealthy, to be liked, to be accepted. And they are half the person that they are because there is no life in them because they refuse to stand on their business. And some of them wake up at the last minute before their deaths and said, I shoulda, woulda, coulda, and they have regrets because they refuse to stand on their business and their life force begin to seep out of them. Don't let that be you. I'm talking to you. Don't allow that to be you, where you allow your life force, your soul to expend out. What's going on? What's going on, Angel? You allow your life force to expend out because you refuse to stand on business and you refuse to acknowledge the importance of who you are. Now I'm going to say some things. Now this is going to be tough for those in the community. So many men, life force, their ability, their will to live is completely out of them. They are shells of who they are. They are almost like robots walking around here. Men are used just for utility purposes, and that's it. That many men have clocked out years ago, and they're just going through the motion. There's no passion in their life. There's no love in their life. There's no thrill in their life. And they wonder why things don't work for them. It's because life has seeped out of them because they refuse to stand on business. And many of them refuse to stand up to women and to society and to people around them because they refuse to stand on business. Don't allow that to be you. I got to say this for the men. You allowing life to seep out of you. You have a slow leak and you don't even know it because you refuse to stand on business. I don't want to argue. I don't want to go back and forth. I don't want to do this. Let's go a little bit further. Some of you refuse to stand up in this political climate and say what you stand for and who you're going to vote for because you don't want to rock the boat. I got to keep the peace right here. And that point right there, you allowing life to be expended or to be extracted out of you because you refuse to stand on business. There's so many men who are lifeless, walking around like zombies because they lost the will to live and they are now robots through life. The only time you get any kind of thrill, if it's a football game or a karate movie or an action-packed movie, because you cannot feed from the well of the passion and life that's inside of you. Excuse me. You know you like to draw. You know you like to take pictures. You know you like to you like to dress a certain way. You have lost your life trying to please everyone. And life is seeping out of you because you're not feeding from the well that's inside of you because you refuse to stand on business. I watched an interview today with Shannon Sharp and LL Cool J. He had a tattoo on his arm and was a microphone and was on. He said since he's been 8, he started rhyming and being in hip hop when he was 8 years old. He watched the greats, the origin of hip hop. And he said to this day, I still get that passion, that drive. I will eat you up in writing a rhyme. Why? Because that's who he is. He drinks from the well that's inside of him because that's who he is. He's standing on his business. And when he rhymes, when he performs, you can see it come out because that's who he is. For him to be a truck driver, it will be a disgrace to him. He would not look that way. He would not have the money. He would not be in the place he would be if he decided to be a truck driver. He wouldn't do it. What we will see will be a shell of a man. I am nothing against truck drivers. My great uncle was a truck driver. I got family members who are truck drivers. But many of you men and many people listening, you are a shell of the person you are because you refuse to stand on business and be who you are. It's that you I'm talking to. And the words of one of my great teachers I love listening to, Brother Malcolm, I'm talking to you, brother. I'm talking to you, sister. Who told you that you got to agree with everyone else to be accepted? Are you going to stand on business and do what you're called to do and the giftings and the callings that's inside of you? Or are you going to get along just to get along? Are you going to allow life to seep out of you? Shout out to the people on social media, on YouTube, the guys who are and the girls and everybody who decided, I'm going to get a mic, I'm going to get a camera, I'm going to get up and I'm going to share my truth. I applaud those who found out what they were designed to do. I remember a story of an old man. He was with his son. The older man was later in years, and he's retired. He didn't work all his life, 40 years. He put in his time, and his son came over to his house, and he seen something very interesting in his father's house. It's like, Dad, why are all these toys here and there's no kids here? And the father said, what are you talking about? So why are all these toys around here and there's no kids here? So the son was completely baffled by the fact that his father, who was retired, has all these little toys here. So the father says, son, I want you to come down the basement. So the son goes into the basement, said, I want to show you something. They went to the workbench, and there was pieces and parts of toys that he was working on. And the father looked at the son and said, son, it's always been my passion to make toys for kids. I get the thrill and excitement of putting the wheels or putting the wheels on the car, on the little toy cars, and putting together a boat, or I get excited. It does something to me when I sit down and begin to tinker and put together toys, and then watch the joy of giving that toy to a child who doesn't deserve it. He said, I get the best enjoyment and fulfillment in my life being able to put this together. And the son was like, wow, I never knew this about you, Dad. Why didn't you do it? I decided to go another route. I had kids. I decided to put that on the hold. So I can make sure that my family is taken care of. And that you can have the education that you have. In that story are so many lessons. There's nothing wrong with the father for sacrificing for his family. But many times with his sacrificing for his family, he sacrificed his purpose and his passion at the same time. It was only after his retirement that he woke up to who he really was, that he began to stand on business, that he began to stand in his purpose, that he began to stand in his destiny. I've said this many times, everyone doesn't deserve a mic. Everyone doesn't deserve the interview. Everybody doesn't deserve to be on camera. But what everyone does deserve from you is for you to stand on business and be the best you can be, and constantly improving and bringing your gift to the table, giving who you are to the table. That's what we deserve. Are you going to listen to this and not stand on business and be the shell of the person that you are? Are you going to allow another year for you to go around this earth and your birthday comes, yay, and life is seeping out of you instead of replenishing you because you refuse to do what you really love to do? A lot of people don't know I like to draw. I used to draw, paint. I used to tinker with taking electronic things apart and putting them together. I've always been that kind of guy. I might have got teased for it, whatever. My parents got mad because he took the radio apart again. My brother, Lawrence took the radio apart. He took the radio apart again. I can't believe he did that. Oh, he's making a new antenna. I was always doing that. So when it came to doing, getting on camera and talking, when it came to the technology part, it was like I was in my playground. So that brings me to my next point, and I think I'm closing. I am closing. In order to stand on business, you have to get back to your playground. What do you mean, LDA? In order to stand on business, you have to get back into your playground. Get back to the place of who you really are. It is in the playground that we create, and where we create and where we manifest and we make. Most people have lost, let me say this correctly, the ability to go into the playground and create. Now, I talked about emotional maturity earlier. We're not talking about emotionally mature people or being immature. I'm talking about your ability to go into the sandbox and actually create and be who you are in order to stand on business. I've watched so many people who have lost their way in life because they refuse to go into the sandbox and play. When you get into the playground or the sandbox, or as we would say over here, the imagination is the playground of the gods. The imagination is the playground of the gods. They lost their ability to get into the playground of the gods, their imagination. And therefore, they end up settling for mere mortal things and not being the greatness of who they are. Is that you? Are you really standing on business? Not what someone else says, but are you really standing on your business of who you are? You have helped everyone around the world, but have you taken the time to help you be the great person that you are? This is Lawrence D. Adams. This is when spirituality and the game combines. You have the thinking class. I want to make sure that you're standing on business. Please understand that there will upcoming. We have a wait list we have 2 wait lists going on for the book, the revised version of the Secret Invisible Crown, and there's going to be a wait list for the and limited for the finding a woman in your tribe. So I want to make sure as where you get that you're, and the Patreon is still being set up. You want to be a part of it. It's not going to be open to everyone. There are limited slots, and there's a reason for that, because everyone cannot handle certain levels of game. And some of the things I got to share, I got to put on Patreon. But thank you for joining me today. This was a lot. You're probably going to see it later on because I'm going to chop it up and put it back up on social media. But if you enjoy this, I see I got people listening. That you enjoy this, you got something from this, let me know in the chat room. Let me know in the chat room right quick. I run this. Where's that song? Oh, there it is. Everybody quiet today. This must be the hard hitter. I'm about to end this. Thank you for joining me. This is Lawrence D. Adams. Good message today. Thank you. Thank you. This was some powerful stuff. You're very welcome. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. All right, LDA, I'm about to be out of here.
Every move got us caught in his groove. It's just a number in this play. Silver fox takes the day. Wise words and he sways, finds a way to make you stay. Years gone by, he's still the best. Charming hearts, nothing less. With his style, he's so blessed. Plays the game like none finesse. Oh, he's a silver charm. Can't resist his sweet alarm. Every glance, every move, got us caught in his groove. Dance moves smooth on the floor. Every step, crowd begging for more. Ooh. Whispers, words, makes hearts sore. Leaves them wanting what came before. Oh, he's a silver charm. Can't resist his sweet alarm. Every glance, every move, got us caught in his groove. Age just a number in this play. Silver fox takes the day. Wise words and he sways, finds a way to make you stay. Years gone by, he's still the best. Charming hearts, nothing less. With his style, he's so blessed. Plays the game like none finesse. Oh, he's a silver charm. Can't resist his sweet alarm. Every glance, every move, got us caught in his groove.